Hi, my name is Kate. This is my channel, and this is my January wrap up. I was just trying to film this video outside on my balcony because it is January. Oh no, it's February in Sydney, and that is revoltingly humid and gross time. And as disgusting as it is worse in my apartment. But I realised that I was embarrassed to be talking about this outside, so I was whispering really quietly. And secondly, a big group of the children who live in this building went down to the swimming pool, and you could hear them having a really fabulous time in the pool rather than you could hear me talking about books. So I have made the sacrifice of coming into my sweat box of an apartment to talk to you before I go back outside and read my book on the balcony. And as hot and disgusting as it is a really overcast day, and my dark, dingy apartment can't handle that, so my lighting is shit. But we're going to continue on anyway and talk about the books that I read in January. In January, I read 15 things, 14 of which were ebooks. Only one was a paper book, which is an unusual ratio for me. And that one book was the only non-romance book that I read in January, which is also a really unusual ratio. But let's start talking about them. Let's start with the most recent thing that I read, which was the first 12 books of the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. I believe the 18th book in that series is due to come out early this year. I've read the first 12, and I'm going to stop at 12 for now. I may eventually read the other 6, but I need a break from it at the moment. I read those 12 books in a fortnight because I was looking for something light and silly and trashy, and that's what I got. They are not particularly well written, especially the first one, and the editing and pacing is really uneven, but it was what I was looking for. Some of the tropes are also quite concerning. There's lots of, not necessarily in the moment, but like in flashbacks and stuff, there's lots of sexual assault as character development happening. There's also lots of female characters getting fridged, which was really frustrating, especially when like the one particular character that I'm thinking of has been presented as this really strong, independent, physically capable female fighter, and the fact that she then is kidnapped, held hostage, abused, and then has emotional issues because of it, obviously, in such a way that seems to be solely about the development of the male characters around her, was really not okay. So that was frustrating. And it always seemed like a great deal of these characters have been sexually abused across their lifetimes, and it's always presented as this really surprising thing because, you know, they're such manly men and strong characters and stuff, but they've all had it, so I don't know why it was meant to be such a surprise and such a shock. Sure, as an individual it would be a lot, but just the way it seemed to happen as a way to give these characters emotional depth, I found a little bit, especially because it kept happening. It kept being a theme that's how it happened. And we need to show this really bad abuse that's happened in their past, so that now we can show how far they've come around. Especially because they've come around because they've fallen in love, and love has fixed or is starting to fix their problem. So that was not okay. So what else did I read? I also reread so it's been the third time that I've read this now, Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And I was inspired to read this because one of my favourite podcasts, Heaving Bosoms, hilarious, great fun, reviewed it in a 2-part episode, and they had such love for it that I couldn't help myself but go back and reread it. And the review on Heaving Bosoms really, I had thought of it as a really beautiful story and I really liked it and but when they were talking about the writing and how great the writing is and how it really brought these characters to life and the clever little details that were put in that made it work so well, I hadn't noticed those on my own because I was enjoying the story and having fun with it. But once they had pointed that out, and when I was rereading, I was like, oh my god, like Casey McQuiston, she knows her stuff. Like, she can do this really well. So I reread that. What else did I read? I also read The Right Swipe by Alicia, I don't know if it's Ray or Rye, R-A-I, Alicia, I'm going to say Ray, Alicia Ray, which was, it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was anything groundbreaking. Some of the background characters I thought were really interesting, and I've got the impression that they will appear as main characters in later books, so I'm looking forward to seeing their stories. But I think it was really nice to see online dating taken, addressed in a really interesting way, and sort of Me Too was addressed, and at the same time the male character, the love interest, the hero he was presented as having some of the emotional problems, and it wasn't just the woman. So that was good to see too. I also read The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. I really enjoyed this one. I think it was easily my favourite book that I read in January. So the setup for this book is this girl breaks up with her boyfriend. She needs somewhere to live. She finds an ad for a one-bedroom apartment, and the person who lives there is proposing what's essentially a bed share situation. He works nights, so he only uses his apartment during the day. He needs some extra money, so he suggests that he has the apartment during the day, she has the apartment during the night, and on the weekend he'll spend with at his girlfriend's house so she can have the apartment on the weekend as well. So it's a bit weird, but that's what they go with. And they leave each other post-it notes all the time, which are really sweet. They eventually meet and fall in love. But so it was really zany and comedic and a little bit slapstick, and it was just really lovely. And the post-it notes that they leave each other are just so sweet. But then when she's talking about her ex-boyfriend, at first you're like, he's a dick, you're well shot of him. But as it keeps going, we realise before she does that he was emotionally abusive towards her. And over time she starts to realise that, and she seeks help, but it has these lasting impacts across all different aspects of her life, stemming from the fact that he undermined her confidence in herself and her belief that she was capable of doing anything on her own. So that was really interesting to see in a romance novel how it could be dealt with and how it could be taken seriously, and how it would affect future relationships. And I thought it was done really, really well. And honestly, it wasn't put in as a plot device. Yes, it was there for her development, but it wasn't taken advantage of. It wasn't undermining people who have been in similar situations. I thought it was really honest and authentic, and handled really well. So that was easily my favourite book of the month. The other book that I read this month, the paperback, the non-romance novel, was Hexacut Stories by Yoon-Ha Lee. So there's a collection of short stories based in the universe of the Hexacut, which is the world of the Nine Fox Gambit trilogy. I really liked it. even though I spent quite a lot of the book going, I don't remember. I'm like, I feel like this is a reference to something that happened in Nine Fox Gambit, and it's been a while, and that was a really complicated and confusing series. So I'm not sure that I got as much out of it as I could have if I was had read the Nine Fox Gambit series more recently. A lot of the stories were really short though, and tending towards the flash fiction or the poetic even. Little vignettes and snapshots in time and character moments and things like that. But it was really well done, and I really enjoyed it. I DNF'd a book in January for one of my book clubs over the January meeting of my book clubs is the February meeting, sorry, is the first one of the month of the year, and we usually read 2 books over the summer break. So for this particular book club, the 2 books we were reading were the 2 Erin Morgenstern books, The Night Circus and The Starless Sea, which is her new one. So I read The Night Circus between Christmas and New Year, and then I started to read The Starless Sea in January. I got about 100 pages in, thought, I don't know if I can do this, I'll give myself a break, put it down, read 12 Black Dagger Brotherhood books, and then yesterday went back to The Starless Sea. I read a page and a half and then went, I cannot do this to myself, and I have now officially given it up. Which I'm quite proud of myself for doing, because this was something that I was going to do this year. It was one of my goals that I set out, that I'm going to give up on books that I'm not enjoying. So this was, I think I probably could have gotten to the point where I was enjoying this book if I pushed through, but I think the pushing through period would have been quite extended and quite excruciating, and that's not how I want to be spending my leisure time. So I've given up on it, and that's going to be my critique at my book club, which the meeting is on Tuesday. But I think my biggest concern, the biggest problem with The Starless Sea, was that it felt that the Erin Morgenstern or the narrator or whoever it is who's telling the story was deliberately holding the reader at a distance, saying, you're over here, the story's happening here, and there's nothing happening in between. The writing was beautiful, but it felt like they were deliberately pushing me away. And I couldn't do that with the level of intricacy in the writing and the metaphor and the allegory and the purple prose. I just couldn't, and like the jumping between different fairy tales and then the reality, like the real story, and then I couldn't. So 100 pages in, and I've just over 100 pages in, and I've given up. Which is interesting, because that's what I did. I first tried to read The Night Circus 5 or 6 years ago, and I got to about the same point and couldn't do it and put it down and never went back to it until just after Christmas, where I breezed through it, I think, in a single day. So maybe in 5 or 6 years I can come back to the Starless Sea and give it another go and actually get through it. But for now, I'm done with it. So that's what I've read over January. That's what I've DNF'd over January. And now I'm going to go and sit outside where it is more pleasant than in my apartment, and I'm going to read a book and drink a lot of water. Thanks. Bye.